Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be breaking down this loop that I made. It's a super emotional guitar piece. It really reminds me of some of the production on Juice WRLD's new album, Legends Never Die. Awesome album. Probably honestly my favorite album ever. I don't know, I love every song on that album. So yeah, follow me on Instagram at gavinhadley_. And without further ado, let's get right into this. Okay, so to begin, this is a pretty interesting loop just because of the different techniques we use to like come up with this loop. I say we, my friend Miles, he edits my videos. He actually played two pieces on a live guitar that I played out on MIDI. So I'm gonna start with those. It's just an Omnisphere flamenco guitar B on this one. And it's a super simple progression thing that we have going on here. I'm gonna play you guys the final sample first before we do anything. Alright, so that's the sample. Now we can get into how we did the guitar. So the guitar revolves around these bass notes. So we have a G sharp, C sharp, F, C sharp, and then a G sharp at the end again. So this is in the major key. It's in G sharp major, and if you look here, this is just going to be a sequence of notes that just loops the entire time. And I wanted to do something pretty simple that was catchy at the same time and not really too like overly annoying. This is just a G sharp major chord, and then we go back down to this third, and then it just goes back and forth. Instead of having this note right here, I just moved it down to an A sharp, and that's really just what loops the entire time. Alright, so this melody is just used to kind of set the foundation and get a general groove going to build off of. So yeah, this is what Miles played on the guitar. I won't show you any of the effects that I put on my guitar because we didn't end up using it obviously, but I'll show you what I put on the new guitar. Alright, so I EQ'd it a lot. This is what it sounded like before any EQ. So the first thing I did was get an EQ and then make a cut right here to get rid of the harshness. You can hear with and without that one note, it's like super harsh. So that already helps limit it. And then I cut out some of the low ends, which further help limit that note a little bit. And I have another EQ here, and I just boosted the high, messed with all these knobs to get it to my liking, so it sounds like before and after, really not too much of a difference. Then I added a little bit of reverb, just a little bit of wet, and then I separated it just a tiny bit. So that's that sound. This is what it sounds like on its own. Alright, so super simple, super repetitive, but that's okay because it's not like annoying. Moving on, we have this piano. It's actually a Labs piano, and it's just following the chord progression that we made. Right, so I did Alt R, and then I like further went in and just messed with the notes velocities, dragging my mouse all around them. Instead of strumming, I just held down Alt on my keyboard to get rid of the snap to grids, and then I just moved these notes around manually. I think that gives it a little bit more of a realistic sound as opposed to just doing Alt S because every note is strummed like exactly the same. Okay, so I EQ'd it, took out a lot of the low end because this sound had a lot of different elements, and I wanted to make sure that the low end stayed as clean as possible so those elements didn't clash down there, and that also gives us a lot of room to add a bass or live bass that Miles played out. So then we have Crystallizer on this, the muffled up octave. I like that one a lot. I just messed with the blend knob here to make it less apparent. And then I have an RC20, a little bit of distortion and noise, and then I de-widened it, and then I made it a little bit quieter there too. And I have a delay. It's just set on 8 steps, and then I put it to ping pong, mix back the volume knob. So that delay is just something you can do to help fill up a little bit more background room. I recommend putting delay on like a chord progression like this if it's going to be in the background. It just really adds to it. So this was originally played on live guitar, but we decided to scrap it and just go with the fake guitar version. This is just picking a couple notes that do a good job like alternating between each other. And like this G sharp, for my ear at least, I thought it did a really good job wrapping up the entire pattern, and it helps bring it back into the beginning, helps it loop better. So I really drenched it in a lot of things just to make it more like a pad kind of sound. So I have the vintage reverb right here, an EQ cutting out some of the lows just to make sure that the low ends doesn't stay muddy. And then we have full compressor. I messed with the lo-fi knob and then the comp knob. Then we have an EQ again, boosting the high ends. This is what it sounds like before and after doing that. So you can hear there's a little bit more pluckiness in the high ends there. So we have this bass that Miles played, just following the root notes. it's just a normal bass line. It only hits once, like right when the chord changes. So, and I put guitar rig on it. I used the DI direct in bass. Alright, so for the top line, I originally was messing around on my guitar and I came up with this. Alright, so it sounds familiar, it's the same thing, but Miles just went in and he perfected it on his guitar because I was a little choppy when I did that. And I also like the tone of the guitar that he played. So yeah, I just played that on the guitar. It was actually honestly like accidental. I was just experimenting with different things that I could do. If you're gonna try this and you're not good at guitar, you need to understand that like you can go in and really move these notes around a lot. Because I wish I had the original recording, but it did not sound anywhere like that. So it's just an EQ, cutting out the low ones again, and then a guitar rig using the oil can echo preset in guitar rig, super good. Adds really nice reverb to it. I really like the way that preset sounds. The last sound that we have is a vocal that I did. Singing something into the microphone. This is what it sounds like without effects. So I'm saying when it's all just said and done, and it sounds like a bug, but once you put on these effects, it sounds a lot better. So look at the EQ does so much right off the bat. And then we have the reverb here, just further helping our case. I just put it all the way to the right, and then I put up the wet a bunch and got rid of the dry. And then I have RC20 to add a little bit of texture to it. So in a lot of outros for Juice WRLD songs, at least in his like newer songs, there's like super symphonic parts. Like at the end of the song with Trippie Redd that recently came out, it was produced by OK Tanner and Nick Mira. There's like a super symphonic piece at the end, and I'm pretty sure at the end of Life's a Mess, there's something like that too, or that I know there's strings in the song. So I just wanted to go ahead and add a little bit more depth to the sample, give people a different option if they wanted to do something a little bit more orchestral sounding. So we have all these same elements right here, except now we have this piano just playing, and I really wanted to mess with the velocities to give it like a really up and down kind of feel. And I just drowned that in reverb. We have a string. String is just following the bass notes. You can hear it right here. Alright, so this is the violin that I used for this. It is the Lyrical violin Legato. I used it in my last video too. Adding violins and strings and stuff is just a super easy way to make your sample really come to life in certain areas. Like some people might consider it a little bit off-putting. That's why I made it just a second version, just to give people that option. All I did was make the piano unique too and add a little bit more notes to it. Help it fill up a little bit more space and give it a little bit more presence. Then I just added a G sharp and another C, just layering notes that we already had in the original progression. And I use that similar tactic for most of this, just a G sharp. We have that G sharp in the bass already. I added the D sharp because I really wanted to go up higher because we were like cascading down. I really wanted to give like a little bit more contrast when we got to this part. I feel like that higher note really helped bring this part to life, gave it a lot more emotion. And then we just go work back down the scale, and I layered this D sharp again, not in the progression, but it just helps transition back down. Think of it like almost like a little staircase going back down here. This is just a super easy thing you guys can do. You all know what this is. We take the third or the middle note in the triad and we just move it up an octave, and then I have it layered again on top just to really give it a little bit more presence. I have one last thing. It's the guitar top line that Miles and I played. That was turned into a piano. We used Melodyne to convert the notes that I played on guitar to piano. So you can hear it a little bit. It really got drenched in reverb. I wanted it to serve as just like ambience in the background, and then another reverb separated, and it's just really like in the background. We structured out the loop, just having these two different pieces here with like everything playing, and then just one sound playing at a time after that. So I didn't mess around with the pitch at all. I liked how it was, and now I duplicated it underneath, made it unique as a sample, and then put the pitch up an entire octave. And this is what it sounds like before I put anything on it. I did this technique in my last video too. It's called parallel processing. Then I added an EQ, kind of treating it like a vocal, like how I did earlier in the video. Then I added a reverb, just like how I did with the vocal too. That separation knob, I can't stress it enough how awesome it is. It really helps add a lot of ambience to stuff. If you mute it, here's what it sounds like without any of these on. And now with, I brought an EQ in and I just messed with these knobs a tiny bit, just going off of my ear thought sounded good, boosting the highs a little bit, just a tiny bit, these like mid-high frequencies to get a little bit of white noise into the sample. make it sound a little bit more textured. And now we have this EQ here. Cut out a little bit of frequencies right here. I thought it was just a tiny bit harsh. I was really just trying to make this guitar sample sound clean, not mainstream sounding, but just that clean guitar sound that you guys, I'm sure you're all aware of. And a good plugin to do that is Ozone. I used Ozone 8 Elements. I'm pretty sure they're on like a way later version now. I just bought this one a while back and I'm still using it. I used the guitar depth preset, and this really is good at making your sample sound a lot more wide and full. So this is what it sounds like before and after. It's probably going to be hard to tell depending on what you're listening through. For me, I can hear what it sounds like. I wanted to add this vocal in a place that this guitar line kind of simmered down a little bit. There's less notes playing here as opposed to the first half, so that makes more room in the sample for something like a vocal. And I just really like the contrast that these two had with each other and like how they were able to be blended together into something cool. That's basically it for the video now. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you were able to learn something today. Comment down below what you'd like to see next from me. I'm working on a bunch of different videos right now. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully I was able to teach you something. Thank you for clicking on the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.